Okay, so we are doing day 2 on Mishlei 21-22. Ir giborim ala chacham v'yored oz miftecha, which we translated as a chacham goes up into a city of warriors or strong people and brings down the strength of its security or stronghold or hope, right? So security is miftecha is like the psychological quality. Stronghold is presumably some sort of physical protection, and then the Targum translated it as hope, Sivra. Yeah. Okay. And then Sadigon said basically just makes this into a yesh pasuk. There are cases in which a chacham goes up into the fortress of strong men and destroys the power of their confidence or security. Okay. Questions and problems abound. What scenario is it talking about? I feel like that's the main question. The question in the sense that is gonna, lead to a bunch of other, that's the decision tree question. What type of city? What type of giborim are they? Who are they? Are they enemies, friends, someone else? How do they relate to each other? What is an ir giborim? 2, what is the definition of chacham in this context? Right. We have several different Mishlaic definitions of chacham. 3, what is the relationship between chacham and the city? Like, is he just like passing by? Is he a member of the city? Sounds like not, because he's going up into it. 4, what is oz miftecha? What is the power of its strength of its security, etc. 5, what is the relationship between the oz and the gevura? Those are both strength words. So are they synonyms? Are they different? 6, what is the chacham doing to bring down the oz miftecha? Practically, how is he doing this? Like saying stuff, just being there, like Isaiah wanted to say. How does the pasuk make it seem like the only thing he's doing is entering the city, as opposed to describing what he's doing? In other words, even if you say he's doing something, why does the pasuk ascribe it to just going up into the city? 7, is this a universal or particular situation? Meaning, is it the way we translated it or the way Sadigon said it? And why does Sadigon make this into a yesh pasuk? 8, what is the practical application and how far does it extend within the pshat? Meaning, is it davka a city and davka giborim? Is it is it any group of people? Is it other types of strength or confidence? What are the benefits and consequences here? It doesn't really say the outcomes. Is this good or bad for the giborim? Good or bad for the chacham? 9, who and how broad is the audience? That's kind of related to 8. And then 10, what's the havmina and who holds it? Meaning, is the havmina that the chacham can't bring it down? Is that something that the bystander is saying? Is that the havmina of the giborim, etc.? Yeah. By the way, this might be an obvious methodology point, but sometimes when I start off reading the questions from yesterday, it feels like I'm just doing it by rote. But I really think that you need to ease back into the headspace you were in on the day before. And I think that's why it helps to write the questions down. And, I've said this before that when you do a Mishlei pasuk, then you should always ask all the questions you can. But I'm realizing now writing them down makes it so that if you spend more than a day on the pasuk, your mind can not forget any of the questions. Like when we're coming up with the questions, some questions are stronger than others, but that just might be because we're first entering into the pasuk now. If we only revisited the ideas we came up with yesterday, we wouldn't re-expose ourselves to those questions that didn't jump out at us yesterday, and that new questions could jump out at us today that could shift the way that we think. Yeah.
I have an example about why this is good.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know if we really discussed number 8, and I think it's an important question to discuss.
Yeah.
Because we were talking about what happens,
right?
But it seemed like the things that we talked about seemed either neutral or some interesting mix of good and bad.
Correct. Yeah.
So
and we didn't touch upon who cares. So what? You know? Yeah. Also, just a side point while we're talking about methodology, I posted this in one of my chats. This quote that I saw from a book that I just ordered, a Lion Tracker's Guide to Life. This is a quote from this safari leader. And I thought, as soon as I read it, so he's talking about being a safari leader, but immediately it made me think of how I feel about Mishlei. He says, I have no idea where we're going, but I know exactly how to get there. And it's a thing. Hopefully you get to that point in all of your learning, theoretically it should be the same thing with Svara and Gemara or learning Chumash. You should go into it with a completely open mind in terms of not knowing at all how this is going to turn out. but you have enough intuition to be able to get you to where you need to go, and I thought it was just a great quote. Okay, so we had 2.5 approaches yesterday, I think, or whatever, however many approaches. We have 3 possible avenues. Ellie's was saying that the Giborim have a psychological security in their physical strength, like he said Yericho, or like I said Goliath, and the Chacham brings down that psychological security. Okay, we didn't say how, according to that. Sean said the Giborim have a firm confidence in their entire value system, their vision of success, whatever you want to call it, their philosophy, and the Chacham brings it down through his questions and through his doubt sowing, or through his skepticism, whatever it is. And we said that the major question on that was why the emphasis on ir and giborim, and miftecha, which sound like military terms, which could just be a thing of like 8. Like really, he's focusing on the military example, but this could expand to other things also. Isaiah was taking the approach that the giborim basically rely on their strength alone without chachma, and chachma has this ability to undermine strength by making it irrelevant, or just to employ strength in a better way. Another example I was thinking yesterday, I forgot to mention, is, and this was not in a military setting, the statement I'm about to quote was not a threat, but when Louis Pasteur was trying to convince the world of like germ theory, he said like he had like a vial of like, I don't know what plague it was, but he said like, I could destroy a whole city with this, and like people dismissed it because invisible germs are going to like make us sick, so like again, it's people trusting in just the physical visible phenomena and not understanding the inner chachma of the thing, and then therefore underestimating it.
Yeah, add something to
sure.
My interpretation.
Yeah.
Okay, so can you scroll off for a second? Okay, a little bit to the actual pasuk.
Yeah.
All right, so Oz and Miftacha being paired for me is very striking, because if something is secure, it doesn't need strength. Right?
If something is secure, it doesn't need strength.
When you say that something's secure, it means that like it's secure, it's impenetrable.
Okay.
Right? So what do you mean when you're saying that the strength of its security? Meaning it's not in the security that there's strength, it's the compensation, or you're thinking that this thing has strength, or you're building yourself up that you have strength in this thing when you really don't.
Okay, I see. I could read it that way, but I maybe I'm just understanding strength of its security differently. That like the strength is what gives it security.
But if it just said that it brings down its security,
right?
What's different?
Right. So I hear your reading. I'm willing to say that that you can separate the two in different. I mean, you're trying to separate the two, right? And say that the just lining up to your idea again.
That their belief isn't actually strong. There is no security in their belief. It's
I see.
Their perception of their belief,
right?
Or the and whatever proofs that they use to justify.
Right. Okay, so I guess I'm thinking of it similarly, but like let's say like in Ellie's example, like that's why I would say it uses both the terms also. But it's good. It's a good observation though that it's that it doesn't need to say both, and that therefore there must be two different things. In other words, they think that it's fused. Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's good. Yeah. Isaac.
Oh, I forgot water. Yeah, I have like a different dimension about what John said.
Okay.
So I think I maybe talked about this yesterday, but I didn't fully explain it. So I think you're so I'm going to talk about an example first. So as part of my my curriculum, I'm on a team where we have to basically develop ideas for good business products, and then the staff will then critique the idea, and there's something that, and they'll ask very we'll be really excited about an idea that we think is really really good, and they'll just ask a very insightful question that just totally punctures it, and I can't I don't know how to express how demoralizing it is.
Yeah.
When you know,
Puncture.
yeah, like
Inflate.
yeah, it's like, but it feels like like it's very upsetting. Like have something that you think is like super amazing, and then you realize that like it's just totally not.
Yeah, it's funny how easily it is that for that to happen. Like I was putting, imagining the scenario in which you're talking, and if I presented some like big idea, like and let's say like my superior just said, "That's it." Like that one question could just totally shatter the entire thing, even without content, And that's why, as you were talking, I was thinking, to me, like I know you're saying that this is an elaboration on Sean's thing, which I could totally see, but I was thinking more about like Isaiah's thing, that the mere presence of a chacham who doesn't even say that, but that he's like it's kind of like the feeling when you have your svara that you have prepared with your kabrusa, and then like you go to shiur and you just see Rav Pesach, and you're like, okay, we don't have anything, it's a good example.
Yeah, and I think it's. I'd say also there's like the dimension of there's like him being there, which I think like I'd say it could either be him just being there, or it could be him like actively doing it. I think that's one of the like dichotomies that we talked about, like of like how to read the pasuk.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, Chaim?
Yeah, I was thinking about this yesterday. I don't know why I didn't say it, but as far as like a war example, like that's kind of almost, from what I know, a lot of like what Sun Tzu's like Art of War is about is like him just being there with his army, like just caused like the other like armies just like freak out, and they would just like, and then he would like hide, and then they would come back again, and he would like hide, and like they would just like be completely like psychologically like just worn out, and then he would just like take them over.
Right. So I wonder, I have no idea the history of Sun Tzu's composition of the work, and then how much his reputation became attached to it. But like, it'd be interesting to see how much of it came from his prior successes and how much of it came from the reputation of being a chacham in the art of war, but it's a good example. I don't know why I didn't think of that either. Like that's the entire book, is him showing the chachma of war, and how like a lot of the principles are counterintuitive to the standard of just like bash them with strength. Yeah. Okay, so let's go into the meforshim now.
Wait,
yeah.
Can you go down passing and ask something on Sean's interpretation from yesterday?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I kind of was reacting when I saw Sean's interpretation. I had, the like it's been like a cartoon type of thing, and the girl's like,
yeah.
So I was kind of that reaction, and I think why I had a reaction is like, what is the keyboard, like what is compelling the keyboard? What's compelling the chacham to do this?
Right.
And why does he care? I mean, I think maybe I would cast with all these.
Right. Yeah, that was a big mystery. Right. Yeah, that was our question. No, but we did ask it in the question number. Did we not ask this? Oh, kind of in number 3, right? Like what is he doing? Like, why is he there? Yeah. I'll say like, what is his motive? Yeah.
Can I answer that?
Sure.
So I talked about yesterday that I was translating Ir Giborim as like a society or a group that is oriented towards a certain idea.
Yeah.
Right. If that idea is false, then the things that are going to be built on it are going to be shaky.
Yeah.
And so you don't want to have things that are built on false ideas, because even if it's working in the moment right now, at some point it's going to fall down. And so it's better to kind of just like tear things down now before even more gets built on it, because the more you build on it, the more you have collapse.
Right. So you're saying the chacham in this scenario is doing this to help the city. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And presumably like, right. I mean, and that's something that a chacham would be likely to do, if assuming he's part of the city, right? Yeah, Moshe.
I don't like fully remember all the names, but I once heard like a good example of that in the Torah.
Yeah.
Where like I think something about like Esau and Leah, and like someone was gonna marry the wrong person, and I think Esther stepped in, and she like embarrassed her in front of everyone by saying like, oh, you're not supposed to marry him, but like then the entire Judaism would have been like built upon like a lie. Like she married the wrong person.
Right.
I'm sorry, I don't remember.
No, it's fine. No, the example is good though, right? Because you're saying like Sean's idea that even though the thing that the person did was destructive in the sense that like people were all happy and like gung ho about it, and then it collapsed, it ended up being for the good because it was now built on a solid foundation.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's good.
I could also work with Targum's translation of hope.
Yeah.
Right. That like people have like,
right.
If it's
false hope, then that's not
don't
good.
want
Yeah.
that.
Right. Yeah, that's good. Okay, so let's do some meforshim. I kind of want to do sadigon because I feel like all of our interpretations at least can be read into sadigon. You know, like that there are cases like this. Let's just see what sadigon says. I know we don't usually start with him, and I did not open it up. Oh, there you go. Okay, sadigon says, "Hayurida heres." So Yurida, bringing down means destruction here. Indian shnemar ace redis homosayich. Okay, that's just a scriptural proof. Amar efshar shehachacham yimtza tachbula al echad ha'armonos ad shichab shehu. Okay, it's possible that one chacham will find a strategy for one of the on one of the palaces to conquer it. Okay, I'm smiling because I was just watching. I'm watching this series of reaction videos. This girl is watching the Lord of the Rings trilogy extended version for the first time, so it's just reaction videos from her watching the entire thing. It's cut down though, so I'm not watching the whole thing. So when she sees how they bring down Helm's Deep, the Helm's Deep is an impenetrable fortress, but then Saruman like basically uses one bomb at the weak point to just bring it all down. It's like this horrifying feeling that Rohan has in terms of the like this was their impenetrable fortress, but one chacham broke down the Armon. Yeah. Anyway, example that's just very live in my mind right now. I don't know what it means. Kvar Ratza. One of the kings wanted to see how the Chachamim can use a strategy to do this. Bana Amud Gvoa. He built a tall. I guess he's saying a real case. He built a tall pillar. V'hela alav echad mehem, and put one of them on top of it. Asa takbula al yidei chutim meleim devash. He must be talking about something specific. He made use a strategy involving threads filled with honey. I don't know what the thread filled with honey. Kach shehe'alum elav hanemalim. Oh, so that the ants went up it. Shezaram zebazeh v'nitla behem v'yarad. I don't know what he's talking about. Does he mean okay? Some clever strategy involving ants and honey to get out of like some Houdini type situation. I don't know what he's talking about. Yeah. So what do we get from here? So like, I think this is another quality which we didn't really. I guess Isaiah kind of talked about it, but one of the qualities of the Chacham is that he thinks completely outside of the box. Or more outside of the box than the Giborim. The Giborim are relying on tried and true strategies, and all it takes is one Chacham to question it and then say this could be done more effectively, and then like come up with that. Like I'm sure military history has a lot of them. Like all I know, like I don't know that much about the phalanx, but I know that the phalanx that it was Rome, right? Or was it Greece? The whole shield formation.
It was Rome.
Yeah. So whoever, I'm sure someone came up with a phalanx example, and then look, you just put your shields together and like go forward, and like suddenly you have this like undefeatable force. No one was doing that because I'm sure they thought that the maneuverability of one soldier is compromised if you go into this formation. The Giborim have this way of like they found something that worked, and then they just like use it again and again and again like a blunt object, not questioning whether it is good. Again, I'm going to try to resist going into the whole thing. Hold on. Let's see where I can find it without exposing myself to all the quotes. But this is the Bruce Lee thing. This is the whole Bruce Lee thing, but just when he's talking about founders of styles. Wow, this internet is being slow today.
The style of the style.
Yeah. Let's see if I look up founder. Yeah. So when Bruce Lee talks about people who found styles, yeah. So he says, the founder of a style. So he's talking about martial arts, but this could be a style of anything. The founder of a style may be exposed to some partial truth, but as time passes by, especially after the founder has passed away, his postulates, his inclination, his concluding formula, we constantly learn, we never conclude, become a law. Creeds are invented, reinforcing ceremonies are prescribed, separated philosophies are formulated, and finally the institutions are erected, so that what might have started off as some sort of personal fluidity of its founder is now solidified, fixed knowledge, organized and classified response presented in logical order, a preserved cure-all for mass conditioning. In doing so, the well-meaning followers have made this knowledge not only a holy shrine, but a tomb in which the founder's wisdom is buried. So the founder is the chacham, who actually looks at things with a fresh point of view and then finds a better way to do things. And then over time, people take that approach and they make it into a rigid, inflexible thing that we must do this. And then when new situations arise, that strategy doesn't match the particulars of the scenario. So the chacham keeps this fluidity alive and can see things through fresh eyes. Yeah. Okay. All right. I think that's what I got from Sadigon, at least. I don't know if there's more stuff there. So this is most like Isaiah's, I think, in terms of looking for strategies. Okay. And not just like the brute strength. All right. Let's look at Metzudas David. I haven't seen this yet. This is coming to praise Chachma over Gvura. V'amar, and it says, Hine hachacham ala le'ir giborim v'natzcham. The Chacham goes into a city of mighty people and defeats them. V'horid chozek bitchonam, and brings down the strength of their security. Asher hischazku b'mivtzar ha'ir, which they strengthen themselves in the fortress of the city. This is one of these frustrating Metzudas Davids where it doesn't look like he's adding ideas, except he's defining the theme, which is showing Chachma over Gvura. But I don't think this points to anything specific that I see yet. But here's what I'm seeing, and I actually thought of bringing this in yesterday. Do you know the mashal of the Chacham in the city in Koheles? Yeah. No, go ahead. Go ahead. No, go ahead. I was going to start something new.
Okay. Just what is the Chacham doing that, as much as he may be smarter about how to go about things, maybe also how is he going about it? Because if he frustrates them, they may just simply kill him.
Right.
So what is he doing?
So he has to be a chacham about how he presents it also, right?
Like that.
Yeah.
So, and then how does that chacham go about
Right.
it?
So if we're talking about how the chacham wants to help the city, so then he has to take into account the fact that there's going to be this huge letdown, and there's going to be the ego damage that Isaac was talking about, where people feel like they were, either sad or that they are, not successful or criticized. He has to take that into account. But he has to show that this is in their best interest.
Yeah.
And he has to show that I'm only doing this, like the Rambam says in the halachos of Tochacha, that I'm only doing this to help you. And it has to actually be heard by them. He can't just come in as a destructive force. And I don't know in Isaac's case whether this happens, but it is a bad management technique when the person who is evaluating these plans is not sensitive to how they're going to take the criticism and how it's going to affect their productivity. He has to be encouraging even when he's destroying their ideas. Okay, I was going to go to Koheles, but let's actually look for someone to give us pshat. Let's look at Rabbeinu Yonah, who I believe starts on the next page. Yeah, he starts on the next page. Rabbeinu Yonah says, Hine hizkir ki ha'osher b'tzel ha'chachma. Okay, he must be going off of what was the previous pasuk? No, 2 pasukim ago. So he's saying that wealth is in the shade of chachma. V'amar otzar nachmad b'shem b'nivei chachma. That was 2 pasukim ago. V'achrei ken hizkir ki hamasim l'bal ha'chachma, and then it's mentioning the actions of the bal chachma. Ki al ken samach lo rodif tzedakah b'chesed. Okay, that was our last pasuk. V'ata yodia ki hagvura l'chachma kein shkasav ani bina li gvura. So he's not really explaining. He's just explaining the connection between the pesukim. He's not explaining our idea here. Right, so that's not helping us. I'm sorry, by the way, that I laughed when I saw this Rashi. I'm laughing not because the idea is bad. But just look at what Rashi says, and tell me if you would get this. Ir giborim Allah chacham Moshe Rabbeinu. Okay, it's talking about Moshe Rabbeinu. Sha'Allah lebin hamalachim, who went up to the malachim, giborei koach, who are powerful people. powerful beings. V'yored oz miftecha, and he brought down the strength of its fortress. That's the Torah. Now, I'm sure there's a great idea there, but I just wanted to read it to remind you how Rashi is learning a different book than we're learning. Like, it is a completely, and again, in terms of where Rashi gets it from, if we tried to do this, like, I'm sure I could say, this is Yaakov Avinu who went up against Esav in his army. This is like Mordechai who went up, you could just say anything. And that's why I think that this is not a good starter commentary, Okay, let's do Malbim. I'm sure he's going to give us I know he's not in the packet, but I was curious about the Oz and the Miftech on the Gvura thing. Like, I'm sure he would explain that. Malbim, speaking of not good starter commentaries, Mivtecha Lada'as Hamichlol Hahe Ru'uya Lihidagesh. Okay, I don't know what the implications of that are, so we're going to ignore it. All right. Oh, he learns this one along with the next one, so we can't learn him yet. Okay, that's too bad. Who else can we go to? Rabag. Rabag would be in the packet if you want to look. It's on the second to the last page.
Okay. The first one, wasn't it just maybe that was like Tashansing before with the Dagesh and the Hay, that the strength of its fortress or the strength of its protection, which Sean was saying before. Yeah. About like strength and protection shouldn't go together. It just sounds like this is a quality of a description of its security. Right. It's security, right? Ir giborim, hine hachacham ala be'ir giborim v'natzcha b'chachmaso ki tova chachma migvura. All right, so the chacham goes into the city of mighty people and defeats them with his chachma because chachma is better than gvura. Emo. What was that part? Emo sheniz karpas for Koheles v'horid oz ha'ir v'hamivtzar shayu botchim bo hine ha'ir bazeh al malas ha'chachma v'hatova magia mimena gam be'inyane ha'gvura. Okay, he's referring us to the Koheles thing I wanted to read, but he's saying that it's going to be through the Chachma and through the Hashgacha. Okay, fine. I'm not getting anything particular out of that. Who else can we go to who might give us pshat? Ibn Kaspi. Okay, now everyone's just quoting this pasuk in Koheles. Tova Chachma Mikvura. Maybe we should go to Koheles. Let's see what second Ibn Kaspi says. Second Ibn Kaspi. No. Okay. So I actually want to go to something else in Koheles, and we're going to actually. Hold on. No. There's got to be someone who gives pshat. Hold on. I'm going to have to look through all of them. Radak is out. Rabbeinu Yonah we did. Rabag we did. Shadal says nothing. Malbim we can't do yet. Targum doesn't have any. Midrash Mishlei, Yalkut. Ibn Kaspi we did. Moshe al-Sheikh is always going to be too long for us to look at. In this context, Metzudas. Okay, so no one there. Who else on our packet? Let's look at the two Ibn Ezra's. So fake Ibn Ezra says Ir giborim ala chacham v'kavsha hu levado b'chachmaso b'horid mimena oz mitecha. So he alone conquers it with his chachma and brings down the strength of its security. Kol ha'oz shebnei adam hayu botchim ba. All of the strength of people, all the strength of people trusted in it. Elu hamigdalim hamiv tsarim. Kol ha'oz shebnei adam hayu botchim ba. All the strength of people trusted in. So that sounds like Eli. People trusted in the strength of the fortress, and he brought it down. Yeah. Okay, fine. Sorry. That was the Rid. That was not the fake Ibn Ezra. Fake Ibn Ezra says, Yir giborim ala chacham lahoros ki tova chachma migvura. Okay, everyone keeps on saying that. V'yored oz remez lechomos. Okay. So he's saying oz means is a figurative description for the walls. He brings down the walls of its fortress. So he wants to avoid the problem of saying string. The redundancy there. Kinyan ad ridata chomosayich. Okay. Miftecha shayu botchim ba hagiborim. Okay, fine. So everyone's just giving pshat of the facts. Real Ibn Ezra says ir Allah chacham b'chachmaso v'tafasosa. He seizes it. Mashalo yuklu lasos hagiborim, which the giborim cannot do. So that's interesting also. It's a slightly different nuance here, that sometimes the chacham shows that what the giborim think they can do, they can't do, and sometimes he just completely out succeeds them, like does something that the thing is impossible, like the example I was saying of the atomic bomb. He brings down the towers to the earth. Okay, everyone's quoting that pasuk in Koheles. Let's do
I want to do something else in Koheles. I know we should really look that up. So I want to show you this because this is a mashal that the Meiri quotes a lot. And this will lead us to a metaphorical interpretation of the pasuk. Okay, and I think it's actually worth doing it because this is a central theme in Mishlei according to the Meiri, even though it's expressed in Koheles. So the pasuk says like this: pesukim. This is in Koheles 9:14 through something. Ir ketana v'anashim ba me'at. There is a small city, and the people in it are few. Uba elaha melech gadol, and a great king came. V'savav osa, and he surrounded it. Ubana aleha metzodim gadolim, and he built great siege works around it. So he's like building up the city as a fortress. Umatzaba ish miskein chacham, and there was found in it, or he found in it. I don't know if he found in it. It was found in it a poor chacham, wise man. Umilat hu es ha'ir b'chachmason, and he saved the city. With his chachma. Sorry, I got it wrong. He's not building it up. The king is besieging the city. He's attacking it. That's Metzodim Gedolim. So the king is trying to attack this small city, but the chacham in the city saves the city through his chachma. V'adam lo zachar es ha'isha miskenahu, and no one remembers this poor chacham. V'amarti. Oh, so we do get here. V'amarti ani tova chachma mikvura v'chachmas hamiskein bezuya udvarav einam nishmayim. Okay, good. We did both. That I said, so this is Koheles speaking, I said, Chachma is better than Gvura, and the Chachma of the poor person is degraded and his words are not listened to. Okay, so it's like a warning. Yeah, so there's definitely a pshat understanding of this, which, let's just see if the Metzudas gives us pshat, or if everyone just takes it as a mashal. Okay, yeah, so it looks like he gives pshat. So Metzudas says, Ir katana, ra'isi ir katana, I saw a small city, but the Davar kalhu lichbosh ir katana efshar l'zabava. It's easy to conquer a small city because you could surround it. There are a few people in it to fight against the enemy who comes upon it. And there came upon it to conquer it. Melch gadol, Rotolomer ba'am rav, with a lot of people. Ubana aleha, and he built above it. Mima Allah, above it. Ugvohi mimena, higher than it. Bana miftsarim gadolim bakoma. Okay, I guess that's how you do it. You build towers and then you fire down onto the city from the towers. Okay, I don't really know ancient war. Laman yalu alehem lahashlif lamata latocha ir avanim uklei mashkis, to firing projectiles onto the city. Ukomer bihios in suffix tilach ir, and it's as if it's saying like it's inevitable that the city will be defeated. Umatzaba, okay, v'nimsa b'socha, okay, my intuition was right. There was found in the city ish dal, a poor man, shaya chacham b'yoser, but who was very wise. Who b'chachmaso milat es ha'ir miyad hamelech ha'ba'ala, and he saved the city from the king who came upon it. But Adam, okay, kodem shemilat es ha'ir, before he saved the city, lo zachar mi b'nei Adam es ha'isha miskenahu. No one remembered this guy. So it doesn't mean after the fact no one remembered him because he saved the whole city, but it's saying before no one remembered to consult this chacham. Because people look down on him. And his recollection was not in people's mouths. So this is like the Archimedes before he invented the war machines to save people. Like people knew there's this guy tinkering with math and stuff, but what is he going to do for us? It's saying if he were to have been remembered beforehand because of his chachma, it wouldn't have been so astounding that he saved the city. Because chashivus benefits chachma, prominence benefits chachma, because it brings attention to the chacham to use as a resource. But since he wasn't considered like anything, if so, the Chachma alone did this. In other words, he did save the city even without the reputation for it. Anyone want to know how he saved the city? I'm just very curious. How did he save the city from the siege works?
Seems like we got different approaches now.
Yeah, right. Okay, Amarti, honey and ants, right? Amarti, Birosi Kane, Amarti Tova HaChachma Yoser Min HaGvura. So when I saw this, I said that Chachma is greater than Gvura. B'hoyel v'ayideh HaChachma Nimlata Ha'ir Miyad HaMelech HaGibor. Because through Chachma, then he saved the city from the Gibor. Now, before we do the metaphorical interpretation, let's focus on what Metzudas David is highlighting: the fact that it looked like the defeat of the city was a certain thing, and the Chacham saved it, despite the fact that no one remembered him and noticed him. So let's pretend that when we read Mishlei, he's assuming that we've already read this in Koheles, and he's just referencing the idea in a shorthand manner in Mishlei, because it seems like that's how the meforshim are taking it. No one's explaining it; they're just quoting Koheles, right? So, what do we get from the Metzudas David and the pesukim here, focusing on the fact that he's a chacham who is miskein, he's poor, and he is what did it say? Bezuya and devar einam nishmayim, and no one remembered him. What does that add to this? Yeah, Chaim?
I think it gives us a havamina, I think, of the Giborim, right? They're gonna see this this wise man, and they're either just not even gonna think of him at all, or they're just gonna think of him, they're gonna like look at him, they're gonna assess him, and they're gonna say, and then they're just gonna, do away with him. They're gonna be like, it's fine.
Right. So who is the pasuk talking to?
Seems like the city.
The city, right? So I think the pasuk is basically, the Chacham knows that Chachma is better than Gevura. And the Giborim, it sounds like here, the Gibor, in the case of the king thinks he's going to win. It's not like you're trying to convince the king because he's the enemy. So it sounds like what it's saying is when you are faced with a threat that seems certain defeat, you are not going to naturally think of the Chacham. So you have to realize, and because again, the Chachma, I think this is like what I was saying yesterday, like evolutionarily, we look at physical manifestations of strength and dominance and stuff, and so that looms larger in our minds than the invisible types of strength. So it's saying you should, in times like this, seek out the Chacham who can see through the Gevura and can think about things outside of the box, and can address the psychological component of you taking security in this thing, and like talk you through it, and then can help you to come up with a strategy, or to at least not give up hope, so that you can come up with resources. I think that'd be pshat. Yeah. So it's kind of like Eli. It's kind of like a combo of like, all three of the approaches from yesterday partake of this, right? Like Eli's thing is addressing the psychological security that the Giborim take in their own city. But here in this scenario, it's you, the victim, the would-be victim, are intimidated by the powers of the enemy, and the Chacham's helping you to separate between that psychological intimidation and like actual strategizing, and then Isaiah's thing also is that the Chacham uses actual strategies, and then your thing also is that, yours is not always going to be relevant because we might only be concerned here with actual like destruction and survival, but that your idea could be a tool in the Chacham's arsenal for making you realize that like, this is not what you think it is. Like, let's say, for example, like, let's say this is the first example that comes to mind. Let's say like you are a celebrity, okay, and there's a PR disaster, or let's say you're the CEO of a company and there's a PR disaster, and you immediately become concerned with public opinion. A Chacham could help you to realize that whole value system of like worrying about what people are thinking about you is just going to be like, that's just illusory. The news cycle is going to go on. People are going to fade. They don't know your business anyway, and the Chacham can help you to realize that whole value system that was intimidating you is just like not something you should worry about. Yeah.
Yeah. An observation and a question.
Yeah.
Question will be separate, but just the observation is, just as far as like the Chacham here, where he's been treated like dirt this whole time, he's still going to rise up and help the city.
Yeah.
Which I just thought was like an interesting thing, that like, at least where he's operating versus where everybody else is operating. Like everybody else, like if you've been treating me like dirt the whole time, like I'm gonna enjoy like watching you guys burn. So like, you
right.
deserve that.
Right. Yeah.
So I thought it was like interesting to note that.
Yeah.
And then the separate question from there, and just to make it more practical, of if there's a way that we can like take note of like how we are doing this to Chachamim before the disaster strikes, right? Because not everybody is going to, right? Not everybody is going to be fine. Like, oh yeah, you guys have been treating me so nasty. Now when you need me, I'm just going to be so nice.
Right.
Like, is there a way that we can then take note as we're doing this to the Chacham while things are good, so that when
that's a good question,
bad, that we could actually like have a good relationship with him already?
Right. That's a good question, and I think I think it lies in the realization that like what's the quote? There's a quote from. There's two similar quotes that I both have on my walls. I'm mixing them up. One's from Mark Twain, one's from Marcus Aurelius, that whenever you find yourself on the side of the majority, then that should give you pause, and you should take pause and reflect. And then the other was something like, it's a good quote. I'll have to share it later on. But anyway, I think the Mark Twain one's the really good one. But I think that's the thing, is when you catch yourself that everyone is thinking in the same way, both enemies who are like attacking you and you thinking that you're susceptible to them, you should remember that Chachamim think differently. Like I think like that's the, that might be a good like thing to give you pause, And the reason why I'm saying it's a good strategy is because it stems from the feeling of inevitability, that this is totally hopeless. And whenever you hear totally hopeless, that's an extreme absolute thing. And that's how the emotions think, Okay, I want to just leave us off with the mashal though. And this is, Rashi says it, but he's really getting it from Chazal. And again, Meiri makes a big deal about this. So, Umidrash Agada, Ir Ketana Zehaguf. The small city is the body. Okay. Va'anashim ba, and the people in the city, Evarim Sha'adam, are your limbs. Okay. And you got to remember Chazal's thing, limb is not just arms and legs, right? It's like all the parts of your body parts. Okay. Melech Gadol, Yetzer Hara is the Yetzer Hara, your emotions. Shekol ha'evarim margishim bo. All of the limbs sense it. Okay. I think there's a better way to, I think maybe Chazal say better, meaning they obey it. The reason why it's called a king is because the king is in control of your body parts. Okay, the Yetzer Hara is in control of your body parts. Ish miskein, the poor youth is or man is the Yetzer Tov. Rashi must explain this somewhere else. There's a more elaborate version of this. So I'll just say it outright. So the reason why he's, oh no, I know where it is. Hold on. Yeah, Melech Zakein. There's another set of pesukim in Koheles where it goes over similar mashal. Yeah, 4:13. That's where Rashi says the full version. So the pasuk says, Tov yeled miskein v'chacham melech zakein uksil asher lo yada lihizaher od. Better a poor and wise youth than an old and foolish king who does not know how to guard himself anymore. The Chacham emerged from the prison to rule. And in his malchus, he was born poor. Okay, so Rashi says, Tov yeled miskin v'chacham ze yetzer tov. Lama nikra yeled she'enu bal adam ela ad yoga mashana. So why is the yetzer tov called a yeled? Because you don't get the yetzer tov, you don't get the intellect developing until you're 13. Right? And miskin, he's poor. What does it mean he's poor? Because your body doesn't listen to the intellect in the same way that it listens to the Yetzer Hara. Chacham, why is he called a Chacham? Shemaskil es ha'adam b'derech tova. He makes a person intelligent on the good path to go. And the Melech Zakin Uksiel is the Yetzer Hara shu shalit al kol ha'evarim. He's the Yetzer Hara who rules over all the limbs, the body parts. And Zakin misha shenolad havlad hu nasun bo. By the time the Yetzer Tov is born, the king has already been there for 13 years, right? And he's Aksiel Shematei L'derech Ra. He leads you astray to the bad path. Kachu Nidrosh b'Midrash. Yeah. So that's this mashal. And I think it would behoove us to think about the pshat, like the question you asked, especially, why don't we listen to the Chacham? So why don't you listen to your intellect? Like the mashal is, if your city was under attack, you would talk to the chief strategist. So why is it that when you are in emotional turmoil of some sort, or you're in the throes of desire and addiction or anger, whatever some emotional thing that overwhelms you is, you're forgetting about like the chacham, the inner chacham in you that can strategize, and get you out of this. There's a lot more to think about here. This is a big mashal, but we have to stop for today. So what new things did we come away with today? I mean, a lot of it was developing the ideas from yesterday. So the new thing, I think, was the reputation of the Chacham, that people forget about the Chacham. That's the essential idea. And that if you really thought about it, you would realize that if the situation looks like 100% guaranteed defeat, there's two possibilities. Either it is 100% defeat, or it's only 100% defeat because people are looking at it through a particular perspective. And if you go to the Chacham, who can see outside of the box, he will either be able to confirm that, yeah, we're doomed, or no, everyone else just thinks that, but there is this solution that no one's thinking about, and you could go to that. And by the way, I still say in terms of movies about Chachamim, one of the best movies about a Chacham is The Big Short, which is about the 2008 true story about the 2008 financial housing crisis, and about the few chachamim who saw it coming independently of each other and tried to warn other people about it. And it's a beautiful depiction of this phenomenon. They weren't able to save the city though, but yeah. Okay, so there's a lot more to think about, and I might actually work on these pesukim in Koheles over the weekend. And if I think it's worthwhile to focus on Monday, we might spend an additional day of this on Monday. Okay, let's stop for today. All right, thanks everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks.